All right, so we are here on Transforming Lives. You've heard Coach Hamilton's introduction. And when we think about transformation, it's just making these unique connections. This has happened just throughout, just talking to educators. Now, Coach is representing Louisiana, all right, that area. So, Coach, man, I'd like to welcome you. Okay, Louisiana and Mississippi, we're connected in that way.
Yes,
So it's
that's
good
right.
to connect to somebody that's close because I'm usually talking to somebody that's way off. So, Coach, man, welcome to Transforming Lives, 50 educators from 50 states. Welcome.
Man, glad to be here. Mr. Tony, man, just excited about the opportunity. Have an opportunity to watch you for a little while, and I love what you're doing. And I'm glad for the opportunity to get on here and share my little piece, my little 2 cents.
Gotcha, for sure. Yeah, usually I start this thing out with this whole idea of how is the weather? We're close, so I'm curious to see how the weather is down there for you.
It's nice. We had a big time storm come through about a week or so ago, but it helped to slow this pollen down a little bit.
Right.
And so the weather's been here. It's starting to heat up a little bit. And like I said, the biggest thing, we're just trying to get through this pollination season.
Right.
That's it, man. But it's nice. I think we got another storm coming through here, probably about a few days. We're ready for it to wash out some more of this pollen. But it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that pollen is just tough in this area, this humid area, that humid, that little southeastern part of the United States, man, pollen is just running rapid and it's doing the same thing.
God,
It
it's
makes
crazy.
for sure. Yeah. So, Coach, I want to jump on in just talking about transformation. And transformation is definitely it's important to look at and how things move. My first question is this is I'm laughing because listen, guys, we've had a dynamic pre-call. I probably should have recorded that first part, guys, but you're gonna get the residue off of that conversation. And it's always good to connect with I love having coaches on, but it's always connect with people that are just like-minded. You mentioned transformational experience where you realized you needed to live the life you wanted your students to have. Can you kind of map out an experience or a situation where you realize it like truly hit you? Oh man, I got to make these changes right here, and it impacts my students and players.
Yeah, man. For me, it was crazy because it was the way it happened for me it was weird, man. Because without, I'm a very transparent person. But of course, in this day and time, you got to watch out for clickbait.
Yeah,
but
sure.
but in this setting, the bottom line is to make it easier. Man, I grew up in the church, boy, my whole life, and I know church. I know the scriptures. I know the cliches, the different things that we say. And for me, I had been in a situation where I started to learn a lot of new things about what God really was about, and not just the Bible stories, but really digging into a God that cared about the life that we live, and it wasn't about just what came out of our mouths. And so for me, man, there was just a point in time in my career I struggled with insecurity, like big time. Like people like be shocked when I say that, but I struggle with insecurity. I moved back to my hometown, and when I got back, it was just this attitude in me that I wanted to prove to people that I could
Right.
coach. That's not what God wanted to do with me. And so, even though I was using the God talk, the bottom line is that I'll say it like this: my nightlife, everybody would match it.
Yeah.
And so, I believe the Lord challenged me to bring those things together. And I know for a fact that he would not let me succeed, even though I felt like I was good at what I was doing, teaching the right things. But the biggest thing wasn't just winning. God wanted me to touch the hearts of the young men that I was coaching. And so right in the middle of this transition during this time frame, man, I had a conversation basically with my mother-in-law, who's also my pastor's wife. Man, the Lord allowed her just to see right through me. I just can't even say it no other way. She just saw right through me, man. And she was praying for me. And on the spot, man, I just really threw my hands up. It was like, man, I'm tired. I want to do this right. And so for me, it was almost here immediately, man. Once I sat down at church, I played music. I'm a piano player. Been playing the piano since I was 12 years old. I'm 44 now.
Yeah.
And been in the church, man, active forever. But for the first time in my life, I sat down and got counseling. I had to answer some hard questions, go through some things, but it was so freeing. And so for me, immediately when I gave up my heart, The question that my pastor asked me was also my father-in-law. I had never been asked before. He said, Eddie, have you ever allowed Jesus Christ into your heart?
Mm.
You hear, hey, get saved, you the Holy Ghost, all this thing. I know this just we're not a religious podcast right now, but I have to tell the story the way it is.
No, please go ahead. Yeah.
That was the first time that I had been asked, have I let Jesus into my heart? And from that day forward, man, I've been a different person. And I saw immediately, man, I went from a 10-win coach to a 28-win coach and a perennial power in the state of Louisiana as I continued to grow in my faith. And it was just a wonderful experience. And wasn't always easy, but what made it easy is that I had dealt with all those skeletons and dealt with those things. I had nothing to hide. I could be vulnerable and be open with my players. And that's when I started to see transformation in myself, and then now transformation in my players, because we can have those tough conversations. I can walk them through issues and things that they were dealing with.
Oh yeah. No, this is powerful because if it stays hidden, shame is a tool that's used to hold over your head like that. And sometimes we don't realize that, hey, it doesn't seem like it, but I understand the whole scripture of it working out for your good. It talks about it works out. Well, how does it work out for your good? It talks about them calling according to his purpose. Yeah. So it is a whole conversation within itself, but
Yeah.
for you to be free in that area is powerful because in the coaching space, sometimes we're not free, right? I use the example of coaching, but if we put it in any other arena, to have these heart to heart conversations is the moment that we get free and really get to move at a pace that we would like to see. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Question we could hit the whole podcast on, but we're going to try to capture some other things because that's it. So the next part, you have a powerful statement that I think all coaches, principals, school leaders, teachers, whoever, if you're in a school, if you run a business, it said, you make the statement, never sacrifice character for talent. In this competitive world, right? I have to slow social media down because we got this NIL time and people are leaving. And I'm like, I can't, I got to get my mind beyond that.
Yes, sir.
Can you share a story or example where prioritizing character ultimately led to a more meaningful or sustainable success, even if it wasn't just the most immediate talent path? Could you share a moment for us?
First, I'll start personally. Like, we can't have that mantra if that's not who we are. And so for me, I tried to hold that standard when I wasn't living anything. And so it's not that it backfired on me. It's just that there was a point where I was not able to operate because there's these two things that we learn about in church called grace and mercy.
Right.
And I was not able to function in that. There are times where we have to know when it's time to use that. So it can't be, it's not necessarily having an iron fist, because we got to have, it's a word in America that we don't use enough, and it's empathy. And the only way for me to be empathetic in each individual situation that I was dealing with was that I had to be able to put myself in that child or that student athlete's shoes, which I know that's a deep conversation, but it takes a lot of time to try to get to know your student athletes and your players. Yeah. Because we got a lot of kids. You have to find a way to take 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, where we get to ask those probing questions, know who we're dealing with, so that this mantra can stand true. Never sacrifice character for talent, because you got to be able to know, is this kid consistently somebody that's off kilter, or they having a moment? Yeah. But the only way I'm able to discern and pick up on that is that first I got to be able to check myself. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest thing, that when I went through transformation personally, I was able to see a little bit further than just the action. So now that goes over to never sacrificing character and talent. Now the kid or the student athlete doesn't look at it as punishment if I'm having to reprimand or correct them, because I'm able to articulate that in our general conversations and letting them know, hey, this is a standard that it takes to be a part of this program. So if you don't meet this standard, then hey, this is the consequence. And so it's been very rare that I had these major issues with my student athletes because that's been consistent. They know that, hey, this is what coach expects. This is what our team expects.
Yeah.
And if I fall short of it, this is what's going to happen. And on both sides, even on the positive side of it, I've seen that to be just a wonderful turnout to the kids who were able to buy into that and hold themselves accountable. And with one specific instance, man, I just, without trying to go get too detailed, of course, from a standpoint of who that person was, but
Yeah.
just had a situation, man, where the kid was just, he met all the criteria physically. Man, I just knew this was going to be the one to get me on the mountaintop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, but man, I bent and bent and bent. And finally, I had to just put my foot down and say, hey, look, man, if you're not going to do what everybody else is doing consistently, then you might want to reconsider being here. And he chose to walk away. And when he did, when that happened, I apologized to the team. Had a long, heartfelt conversation with the team, and we came together and we made a deep playoff run. That group of guys is a lot of guys doing well out of that group as adults now. And I believe that was a pivotal moment where them watching me not sacrifice character for talent and hold everybody to the same standard. We wound up having a special season that year and still have some great relationships out of that group as well.
Wow. We still hitting it. Oh my goodness. Talking to school leaders, one of my former guests asked me the question of how do you relate the coaching and the school leadership? And that's one where I wish came to mind. We talk about culture and systems in schools, but it's the same thing on the team where your players don't perform at a level that they possibly can because you may have one player that's impacting the morale and you have to have the courage to make the decision.
Yes.
And like you're talking about, when that person is removed, you will go around every corner and say, I got to keep this kid here because of XYZ. But the majority is like, coach, man, they may not articulate it, in which kids are smart. Players are smart enough because they understand this ain't working with us. And then when that variable is removed, you start to see the team's morale go up.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I actually have an example of that as well on the flip side, where I had one of my better players that we had to change his role. And it was tough. We had to change his role. And it was frustrating, but he wound up playing the best basketball of his high school career during that stretch. But it was because we had to have that hard conversation. And he made a decision, I'm going to do it. You see what I'm saying? So it works both ways. So I don't even want to just use it on the other side, man. Like this kid, when I tell you, we weren't uber talented at all.
Yeah.
So the decision I had to make with him was hard on me, even to the point, physically my body, my blood pressure went up. I got sick with COVID and the flu within 2 weeks. And I had to learn, I had to understand that spiritually, man, when you go against what you believe, your body's going to respond. You can ask medical doctors that. You know what I'm saying? Our bodies respond to, there's certain illnesses and things that we take on. And I know that's getting a little deep there, but man, but it's a reality. I saw it. And so when I made the decision with this young man to change his role on the team, it felt like 1 trillion pounds was lifted off of me, especially when it started to work because we were on the win streak.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see that with my natural eyes. It didn't make sense for me to change his role. Like it didn't.
Yeah.
But I had to. And I made the decision while I was sick that I believed that I came to the conclusion of what needed to be done in order for us to maximize that season. And our relationship to this day is amazing. It's amazing because he respects me so much. And the guys on that team, we respect each other so much because of making that tough decision that didn't seem to make sense at the time, but it worked out. You know, man, that's one thing for us as leaders. Sometimes we can't see the end result of what's right. My pastor says this. He says, we got to make right decisions. And then over time, our feelings will catch up.
I'm going to look at the time, write that down. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry. Go
was
ahead.
handing Pastor Doyle R. Adams at Elizabeth Baptist Church in Benton, Louisiana. That's his tag.
Okay.
Make sure you get the credit for that.
I'll put it in the caption.
Make right decisions, and eventually our feelings will catch up. And I found that to be true in my life.
And that's the thing with this series, 50 Educators from 50 States. That is one of my conclusions. Leadership is leadership. It doesn't, if you're a school leader, classroom leader, you have to have the courage to make some of these decisions, whether that's asking a kid to be removed from the class for a time being, or rearranging the class schedule to help that child, or asking a teacher to take a different role, or asking a principal. That's part of leadership, having that courage and knowing when to make those changes.
Yep.
It's not easy.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's not easy.
It's tough because you're on an island by yourself. Nobody understands what you're doing. I used to tell my old assistant coaches, head coaches now, at times like, man, y'all have never been head coaches. I've been an assistant coach. There are things that you see, you're not wrong. But when your role changes from assistant to head and you're responsible for the end result of that decision, you got to think about that. I can't remember who I heard say this, but they say you make right now decisions based on future. Like, how is it going to impact the future? Your groups that you have moving forward. Can anybody go back and pull back and say, oh, you remember when you let this happen? Or you remember when you let that happen? People will hold you. I don't care. You can win 10 straight state championships, or you can have a school that's an A school for 10 straight years. They're only going to remember the stuff that they didn't like. Yep. And so as leaders, that's the part that we stand on when I was telling them as now that they're head coaches, now they see that your role has changed and it's so much impact that your decisions make on a group of people inside your organization and outside. And so you got to make sure that you're comfortable with knowing what is the backlash going to be when I make this decision. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be comfortable and ready to take whatever that result is. Consequence is not a bad thing. A consequence is just a result. And so whatever that consequence is, we got to be prepared for that. And we got to think. That's why it goes back to, we got to make sure that we are transformed. We got to make sure our heart is stable. Our character is built on the right foundation as well. So it's coming from the right place. And that's important. Like you have to go first, and being first is an isolated event that happens in our life that we sometimes don't have instructions on, that we have to go along and we have to take the brunt of it and then come back and talk people through. Like we have to talk people through stuff that we're hurt in, that we're injured in, but yet we still have to have, I like the word you used earlier, empathy. Yes. Man, yes. Listen. That word is almost null and void at this time frame. Right. Empathy. Like, no, we don't. Oh man. So let me do this, man. I'm going to pause this just for a second. Right. So this conversation is it's a powerful one that I think coaches, not to exclude you educators, because sometimes y'all come and say something about coaches. I'm going to stand up for coaches now. Let's go. So I think it all goes together. My next part is you have another statement I think is powerful. You said winning habits before winning happens. Let me get it out. Could you break that down for me? Winning habits. First, you brought me to say it because I just butchered that. But can you walk us through that what that means? So that was birthed out of, with basketball specifically, with that, everybody talks about the game has changed. So it's changes. But what I'm noticing is that I don't believe the game has changed. People have changed. You know what I'm saying? People say, oh, today's kids like this. No, kids aren't different. Parents are different. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to it, the same habits that it takes to function at anything, being consistent at anything, the most successful people in the world live routine lives. They pretty much just they have things that I do this at 8 o'clock, I do this at 10 o'clock. Yeah. That's what a lot of successful people do. And so the thing about it is sometimes when you listen to the greats, the great coaches, the great players, they all talk about their routines and the habits and things that they go through. And everybody tries to skip that. We try to skip that. And you said earlier in our other conversation was talking about the renewal of the mind and transformation.
Yeah.
Then teach. We're trying to teach before we renew and transform.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kids are trying to play the game at a high level before they get the fundamentals and the basics. So me, I'm a fundamentalist. I don't care how talented you are. There's still things that you need to understand fundamentally about the sport that you're playing. You cannot multiply before you add. Just can't do it. You can't even subtract before you add. You got to understand addition, then subtraction, then multiplying, and then dividing. You can't skip that process when it comes down to understanding winning habits before winning happens. Now, that don't mean just win a game. We talk about winning at the highest level, championships. So with that, if you skip skips, there are a lot of talented teams and players who never win. Not because they don't have the ability, but their habits are bad. When you eat right, do you go to bed at night? Do you get up extra shots? Do you go run extra routes? Are you in the weight room? All of those things you cannot skip, and you have to be intrinsically motivated to do that. So what I try to do with my student athletes is I try to empower them with that information. I don't threaten them with it.
Yeah.
I just let them know you can't expect to be the best and you're not doing these things. Now, it's okay for you to think, you can think it all you want to, but me as a coach, I know how far we can go based on the habits I see y'all.
Yep.
So if I don't see those things, I'm going to challenge you. I'll let you know. I coach harder in blowouts than I do in close games. The games we up by 30, I'm coaching so hard because I want to make sure that we use those games to make sure that our habits are correct for when we play the top tier teams.
Yeah.
When we get into those games, I'm not coaching hard. I'm able to be methodical now because our habits are right.
Yeah. That's good.
So coaches for us, if we are constantly talking about effort, then we're never coaching. Somebody that brings that effort on a consistent basis, that's a gift and the talent that's overlooked.
Yeah.
So I know I'm saying a lot, but I have to go and say all of these things in order to paint that picture of understanding that you're not going to win at the highest level with bad habits. Now, if you're just so talented in high school and you mess around and you win at high school, but your coach didn't hold you accountable, but you're so good, the college say, we still want you 6'7", 220 pounds. Okay. You made it. Now you're there. Then you meet somebody that look just like you.
Yes, sir.
But their habits is, I'm in the weight room at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to bed early. I'm getting my homework done. But y'all both are talented. You both 6'7", 225. Dunk that thing, shoot that thing. Okay, getting most on the football field. Defense, like. But when you meet that guy whose habits are more consistent than yours, now you in college sitting on the bench and everybody wondering why, or you sitting on the bench. Habits.
Habits.
And so we cannot be afraid as coaches and leaders to hold our student athletes accountable for that. I can't make you do it, but you know what I can do? I can sit you down until you decide you're going to do it.
Yes.
So that's the decision right there that you got to be willing to make. Hey, this guy earned his opportunity by his habits, or do I need to sit you down for a little while? And look, if I got to provide an explanation to my administration, I got it. I got it. Because it's consistent. And when the whole team can say, hey, man, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and I'm going to throw this in for an end. When you get to a point where your players are talking like you won. So if you don't win the title, your players talking like you, oh, you won. Oh, you a championship program. When your players start to talk like you in their own conversations about what they're doing, they start talking like you won. And biggest thing is if you don't win in sports, guess what? They're going to win in life. Yep.
And that's the important part. And it's even in the building. If you get to a point where your kids in classes are able to like you're talking about, begin to speak the language that you're speaking, that's when you develop leaders. I emphasize it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care if we're talking about on the field. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care if we're talking about in the classroom. You are, when you get in your mindset that you're developing leaders, you change your approach to it. You're not just having students, but like you're talking about, once that kid grows up, they're going to think back to, all right, coach set me down and he helped me at a level that I wasn't used to, that was uncomfortable, but it made me a better person. That's a small win.
Yes. Yes. You're changing the world now.
Yeah. Because that kid is not going to forget that, whether they were happy about it or they were mad about it. Once they understand the bigger picture of it, that if it's not addressed now, man, that thing's going to be a monster later.
Yeah. Man, I've seen it.
I'm thinking back to my college coach. When I started out junior college and I went to Division II school, one of the things that coach was being on time. I hated it. If we were supposed to be at a meeting at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., we need to be rolling in there about 9:45, 9:50. We need to be rolling in there ready. 10 o'clock, we're going to start. I didn't understand. Like, I just did it to do it, right? Because it's being compliant. But I understood the bigger picture later. What was the difference in, for me in my profession, when I started working with school districts? So if I'm lining up, I'm at the school at 7:15 and I'm beating the principal there, that's speaking volumes to the principal. Those little things, it's not trying to show off, but it's those little small things where you talk about winning habits. Winning habits make a difference. This is, and those that are listening to this, it's going to be a part 2. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just let y'all know what I'm going to work out doing, because I just believe I'm coming to Louisiana. I'm just telling you right now, I'm coming to Louisiana. I already wrote it on my paper. I'm going to find out your time after we get off here for the May or June. I already got this in my mind. I'm going to work it out within your schedule. I'm coming. We're going to have, we got some more stuff we got to talk about. We're going to cut this down just a little bit so that y'all can consume it. We're talking about this whole idea of today's society. Young people face numerous pressures, distractions.
Yes.
Right? So how do you, as a coach, an educator, and you really touched on it now, just how can we touch on it a little bit more to stay grounded in strong character and just really dive in a little bit more into this winning habits? Challenges arise.
One of the things, like I said earlier, I try to empower our young people where they can make their own decisions. So I heard this is Kenny Smith. He does TNT basketball analysis, but he has this statement and I use it all the time. So shout out to Kenny Smith. He says, the difference between good and great, just decision-making. That's the difference. So now, the other thing that I told you earlier, that we got to make our decisions based off, as best we can, our present decisions need to be based on what we want our future outcomes to be. So we have to have that in mind. Now, what that does for us is it gives us this balance in our mindset on the habits that we're trying to develop to get the results that we say we want to have. Yeah. So now, you and I, we say we on a diet, need to get 20 off. And we get a plan for 8 weeks. But if we eat this and we do this for 8 straight weeks, the 20 pounds will come off. Yeah. Well, the 8 weeks go by and I grab a honey bun one day.
Yeah.
And then I grab the double cheeseburger with bacon and fries and a large Coke.
You told you hitting me.
Hey, I'm hitting myself. And so I throw it in just to say that we get to the end of the 8 weeks and then we look back, man, that diet ain't work, man. I ain't lose 10 pounds, man. When you go back, what would have happened? And so I use it with my young people. So I'll give you one example. I love this story, one of my favorite stories. It was a young lady that she came in one day. I was working in the office as an admin assistant. And she came in one day, she was mad, talking crazy, and she got trouble in class. And I sat there and I said, hold on, sweetheart. I said, hold on. I said, you're not upset with me, right? No, coach, I ain't mad at you. I said, okay, so now we need to calm down. Okay? Yeah, let's calm down. All right, so I got a chance. She settled down for a moment, got to talking, and then she said, man, them folk know I ain't taking my medicine today. I said, oh, okay. Now we getting somewhere. When I looked up her demographic, come to find out I went to school with her mama. That's about all we. So when mama gets to the school, and I sat there, and let me tell you how I empowered her. I said, do y'all realize that there's an industry out here in pharmaceuticals that's making billions telling you can't control yourself? I mean, look, I'm like, what you mean? I said, look, it's their job. I said, you telling me you're on medicine to control you. So this industry is telling you, in order for you to have some self-control, you need to take this medicine. And they are making billions of dollars on telling you can't control yourself. But watch this. As soon as you finish high school, you can't take that medicine no more. Because their diagnosis don't carry with you to college and to trade school. I said, so now, where's your self-control going to come from then? And I said, now, watch this. There is proven evidence that people go from these medications to hard drugs because they can't cope with life. And I told her, I said, young lady, I said, I'm not telling you to get off of it. I said, but I believe that one of the most powerful things God gave us was self-control. And I said, if you decide that you want to make better decisions with or without the medicine, I believe that everything you want to accomplish, you can. Now, that's the short version. That girl got off the medicine and she came by my office once a week for the rest of that school year and say, coach, I'm still off the medicine. I ain't got no trouble. I got my grade.
Wow.
And I think, so you think about that. I didn't do anything but just give her the information for her to choose. You see what I'm saying? Because the difference between good and great is decision making. One of the most powerful things God gave us is the ability to decide. Now, ultimately, we know he's in control, but he's given us the power to decide. And so for me, with my young people, that's how I handle them when it comes down to distractions, pressure, all these things that they're being presented with in their lives. I try to empower them with information, what the end result can be, what can come through. And I found that more times than not where it's helped those children transform. Now, that don't mean they're the perfect person. They do everything right. Because people got vices, people got things they do. That's not what I'm sitting there claiming. What I'm claiming is that quality of life has been a little different for them. Right. Because we're able to give them a way to look at the end result before you make this decision. And man, that's one of many stories, but that's one I'm definitely proud of.
That is good. I would like to anchor down and go through it. Oh my goodness. That empowering piece is great because once you understand, you have, because a lot of times, like you're talking about, you feel powerless because you don't have the right information. So there's a barrier right there, and you can't see above the barrier, and somebody helps you see above the barrier that is really not a barrier.
It's not a barrier. Yeah.
Once I give you the right instructions on how to see, you see better. Now you see that really you're stooping down too low, but if you actually stand up and be who you're supposed to be, you actually can step over.
Stand up and be who you're supposed to.
Oh, I'm trying to contain myself. Yeah, I'm coming. We're gonna get this because I gotta come do a face to face. And there's a couple of people I thought I was gonna do a face to face with. You are on my list because we got some other questions and we're gonna get this all together. But that story is powerful because leaders need to hear, teachers, they need to hear this, that you have the ability to empower.
Yeah.
The young lady comes back and she is developing a habit to say, even when I don't feel like it, you're the billboard to remind me that, I can.
Yes. Yeah. We were raised in the era, we just did what we were told. Period. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? But in today, Pastor called this the information society. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the information age. And they got their hands on so much. These kids will Google. If you just say my name is such and such, they gonna Google to make sure it's your name.
They go get them.
And so with that, our posture has to change, man. When it comes down to we say kids respected us, it's man, we have to do a better job in when we're sharing. It's like I am trying to, like I said, that word we use, empower, is so important to get them to understand. I'm letting you know, hey, I'm just trying to help you, the end result that you want to get. Don't just do it because I say this what you got to do, because that's not. And there's still children out there like that their parents still raising. They gonna do it because you say do it. But when they understand why,
Yeah.
go ahead and tell them why. That's not a bad thing. We're doing this way, and this is the reason why we're doing it. The why question is not a bad question. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was one of the things we learned in the teacher advancement program called TAP, teach to the why. And that actually helped to transform how I coached years ago as well, is that now when we do what we're doing, I'm going to tell you why we're doing what we're doing. And that helps them to wrap it around their minds and see the benefit as best as they can. And then when they start to see the results, then, hey, game over. You've won them over now, because now they get the results that they want.
This is good, because we as educators, we as leaders, number one, need to have these conversations, because just because you're empowering the person doesn't mean you lose power.
Ah, boom.
That's
Yeah.
That's a major
Yeah.
misconception, and we are
Yes.
afraid. We're afraid to empower because we feel like we're losing power. But
Yes.
what we don't realize is this: is that when you empower, you mature. So when you mature, what that does is you're actually dealing with a person that's going to make wiser decisions. So you're actually in the better. Yeah, you brought this on, sir. I'm just telling you, you brought this. You brought you. I'm like you. We feeding off each other, because
Yeah. Yeah.
lose
Yeah.
when we empower. That's a post already. We don't lose when we empower.
Oh, man.
We
Oh, my goodness. They go right there with down. Now, right there with down.
lose when we power.
Wow. Yeah. It was good.
Yes. How do we close this thing out for right now? This ain't even like going through looking at a lesson. This ain't even closing out. It's not. What I got down on the paper, people that are listening, I want him to offer one piece of advice, but he didn't drop so much that I'm going to give you the floor. So let me kind of rearrange this. Let me rearrange this to a single slide and let you, hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to edit this out, but
Okay.
this, I'm in here. I'm speechless, sir. Let me get this thing together. All right, let me find the correct window. Source. Okay, all right. You got it, sir. Coach, man, if you could offer one piece of advice of enduring wisdom to coaches who are striving to develop a well-rounded young player or individual, what would that be, Coach?
For me right now, and I told you this earlier, I won't say that I made this vow, but the conviction that I have right now, it comes to me, if I'm allowed to share, it's scripture. And man, it has totally just refueled, recharged, refreshed, just the way recalibrated, whatever you want to say, my thought process in what we do. And this is the thing about it, man. You don't have to be perfect to be honest. Okay. I want to make sure that I get that message across to us as coaches and leaders. You don't have to be perfect to be honest. Okay. And I'm going to go here and to Acts in the Holy Bible, Acts chapter 20, verses 22 through 24 in a New Living Translation. I'm going to read it. I got it on my screen. And this is what I'm going to lead for anybody that's leading, that's listening to this, that's in a leadership role or looking to move into leadership. And hopefully there are people out here who have a relationship with the Lord or are in pursuit of one. And it reads, and this is Paul talking. And now I am bound by the Spirit to go to Jerusalem I don't know what awaits me, except that the Holy Spirit tells me in city after city that jail and suffering lie ahead. But my life is worth nothing to me unless I use it for finishing the work assigned me by the Lord Jesus. The work of telling others the good news about the wonderful grace of God. And that's where I'll stop. Acts chapter 20, verses 22 through 24. Please take a look at it, read it, study it, absorb it, and allow it to speak to your life where you are right now in the role that you are. Teacher, principal, coach, administrator, counselor, whatever it is that you're doing. It takes some deep thought with that, because what that does is it gives me a ground foundation of why I'm in the position that I am. And it keeps me focused and centered. And it actually helps with dealing with frustration as well.
So this is, it's whatever time it is, but understand we have had a powerful time. This is the part y'all ain't heard that kicked this thing off. And to end with that is, I would say it's a comma, not a period to this particular episode. Coach, man, I appreciate what has started. And it's just amazing how God does stuff. We can't make this up. Can't make it up. Can't make it. So again, also, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure that you are aware of Coach's book that he has out right now. I'm going to share that information. Or if you have it ready, I'm going to get it on the screen. So hold on one second so I can get it on the screen. Okay.
You got a busy screen there.
Yeah, man. I got a lot. Hey, I got a lot going on back here. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I think this is good right here. Let me get you on the screen. Hold on. Okay. So, guys, I want to make sure I stop and pause and let Coach talk about. He has a book out. I've gone through the book. It is a powerful book when we talk about just coaches or just leaders. It has the complete coach book, integrated well-being and success in athletic programs. If you're a coach, I don't care what stage you are in, it's a check and balance, or it's something that you need to start out with to make sure that you have each part of your program together. I'll let him talk about his book. I'm gonna step out of the way, Coach. Anything, and I have his stand story information. Coach, you got it, man. Can you tell us about what you have on this particular page, if you can see it?
It was birthed out of my career, of course. And of course, I've had mentors over the years to help guide me and grow me over time. And most importantly, my relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. But what it is that the focus is integrating well-being and success into athletic programs. And why is that important? Because number one, we got to redefine what success looks like. As bad as we all want to win, we're not all going to win state championships. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. It's okay. But you have to know that you're winning even when you're losing. And what this book does is it gives you an outline and a workbook as well. But the workbook is called Strategies and Action Workbook. What that does is you're able to write down or articulate your thoughts. So it's not about what you hear or see, it's about how you interpret it. So the workbook helps you to write down your interpretation of what it is that you're reading so you can set your ground basis for what kind of coach you want to be. But the number one thing is you have to have a philosophy. You got to have a ground-based philosophy. And this book helps to develop that and to organize and structure your life that you don't give your job more than what you give your family. And I'll keep it that simple. We're doing this, we're asking our families to sacrifice so much of their time and their energy for you to win. And when it's all said and done, a lot of us, we don't know who our family is when it's over with.
Right.
And so what the complete coach does is it helps to show you that, man, you can structure your life where your family gets the best of you, but also your program can as well. And it doesn't drain you. And right now, there are a lot of great coaches who are quitting the profession. Coaches are having heart attacks. Coaches are getting beat up. Coaches are being shot. They just call it like it is. They're
Right.
being fired for things outside of their control because of whoever in the community. But what this book does is it helps to get you to align your program, redefine what success is. Okay. It's not just the wins and losses. Now, hey, we still want to win now.
Right.
So there's not am won. So let y'all know you ain't talking to a coach who hadn't won this.
Right. Yeah.
But it's to help you to align things where you can give the best to your family and to your job and not be drained and stressed. Now you're gonna have there's some pressure there. Human. Here's what it is. But what this does is it helps to align those things so that your job can still be fun. People forget that coaches, we do what we do because it's fun. So this kind of a joy restoration book as well to help you line those things out. So hopefully that's clear. Hopefully that's clear to give a good understanding for what it brings to the table. Very proud of this book as well, man. It is. I feel read from it.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. And yeah, it's worked. I've gone through it. And like I told him at the beginning in the pre-call, I wish I had this earlier in my coaching football. It would have been a great tool to assist and also prepare for those uncharted lanes that I had to go through.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So again, guys, this information will be in the description or is in the description. So you want to go ahead and check it out with its digital products as well. And it is worth it. I'm going to tell you right now. Sometimes we kind of share stuff. All my people's stuff worth it. I'm just going to say it like it is. All my people, it's a collection of stuff.
Yeah.
That's just how God works. He puts you in contact with people that you need to be in contact with.
Yes, sir.
Again, guys, thank you so much for being with us. This is 50 educators from 50 states. It's the Louisiana edition. This is it. This is absolutely what is needed. Again, guys, it's important that you connect with the right people, and this one is it. So again, this is closing out for right now until we get to the part 2, because there's going to be a part 2. I promise you there's going to be a part 2 to this episode.
Yes,
When
sir.
I schedule together. So again, this concludes Transforming Lives, 50 educators from 50 states, Louisiana edition. You all go be.
Got it.